Hey everyone, I hope you are safe and warm. This is a video to explain the Active Reading Project. I would have done this in class on Friday, but I'm hoping if we're able to Zoom or meet, I want to take up class time discussing Frankenstein since we've already missed 2 days on that now. So I didn't want to take up class time to explain the project. I will, however, take questions on Friday. So what I'd like for you to do is to watch this video, and then any questions that you have, just hold off until Friday and we'll work on answering them at that point. So this probably will make most sense if you are able to get onto Canvas and open up the module. You'll see I've created a new module. It's listed second right underneath important information. It's called the Active Reading Project. So the assignment sheet is located there, and I'm just going to kind of walk you through that and then some other things that are in the module. But if you are not able to access it on your computer right now because of power or battery issues, then just listen along and you can take a look at it when you can. So as the assignment sheet kind of tells you in the first paragraph, the whole point of this project is to make reading as pleasurable and meaningful as possible. And I know that teaching British literature, a lot of times students could really care less about the literature, which I understand. And I think it's good to be exposed to things that you wouldn't normally pick, but I would like for some part of my class for you to really experience some reading that you enjoy. And maybe that will be some of the text that we cover, but I wanted to kind of just give you a chance to read something that you weren't worried about being tested on, right, or having to talk about in class, that you could just enjoy it. So that's kind of the point of this project. And so basically you can think about most Fridays starting next week will be devoted to this Active Reading Project, which means you can take some class time to read it. You can take the class time to write and turn in the reflection if you would like to. And then once this semester, you will just chat with me for just 10 minutes. It will just be a check-in. I'll just be curious how it's going and anything that you've discovered about yourself as a reader. So again, very informal, but you'll do that once. The second paragraph of the assignment sheet basically lets you know that you'll end up reading two things for this project. The first thing that you read, you'll read roughly for a month from February 19th to March 19th. And then the second thing you read will be roughly from March 19th to April 19th. For the first thing that you pick, there is only one parameter, and that is you just can't be reading it for another class. I want this to be completely separate from anything that you're doing school related. Other than that, I want you to pick anything that you want to. So whether that is fiction, nonfiction, poetry, a memoir, a biography, even a magazine that you love. All of those things are fair game. What was I trying to say? My son loves graphic novels. That's the word. I kept wanting to say comic novels, but he loves graphic novels right now. So if you wanted to read a graphic novel, anything as long as it is words on the page. On the assignment sheet, I have listed some resources for where you could find ideas for things to read. So I have a lot of book award lists, which is a great place to go to. Obviously, those books win awards because they're really good, and so I have those listed out. There's also the Goodreads Choice Awards, and there's a Goodreads app, and that's where people, just like you, just common, everyday, normal readers post reviews, and you may even find that some of your friends are on the Goodreads, and you can sort of follow your friend recommendations as well. Something that I often do is I just post on social media, Facebook or whatever you're using these days. Hey everybody, what's your last favorite read, right? And then you can just kind of get some suggestions that way. You can also go to the local bookstore, like Fabled does this, and even Barnes & Noble does it. They usually have a shelf or a table that is staff recommendations, and they'll include like a little paragraph about why they liked the book. So if you're at a loss for what to pick, those are some places to go, and that's listed on the assignment sheet. And then every Friday, with a few exceptions, you will complete a reflection on what you're reading, and I'll talk about those reflections in just a minute. We'll also have some opportunities in class to share our experiences with other classmates, just sort of brief little 5-minute conversations. And then, as I mentioned, you'll have one Zoom conversation with me. I'm seeing now it says 15 minutes, but I'm going to change it to 10 because otherwise I can't fit everybody in. I have the due dates listed there. And then underneath the due dates, you'll see I already have all the prompts listed for the reflection. So if you want to get a sense for what those reflections ask you to do, there's one, the first reflection is called My Life as a Reader, and it just kind of gets you to think about what does it mean to be a reader? Do you identify as a reader? Does your family? How do you pick material to read? Things like that. So it's really not focused specifically on what you choose. So if you haven't read very far in your first reading material by when that's due, it's okay. It's just a general reflection. And that one is actually due next Friday. And then the second one is called Change It Up, and it just gets you to think about the context of where you are reading, sort of the space that you read in. The third one is called Keeping It Real, and it gets you to think about how we connect what we're reading to what's going on in our own lives. The fourth one is called Looking in the Mirror, and it's about identifying with the characters and what that means and what it feels like. And then the last one is about the ending of, and this by now for the reflection 4 and 5, you'll be on your second reading material. And it asks you just to think about the ending of it and what you thought about that. And then you'll notice at the very bottom of that description on exam 2, one of the questions will be kind of a final reflection about your active reading project. So it won't necessarily be a right or wrong answer, but you'll have obviously wanted to complete the project and have read 2 things so that you have something to talk about in that question. I did forget to mention that once you choose your first reading material and you have about a month to read it, when you go to choose your second reading material, I add one parameter. So you still have the parameter of I don't want it to be something you're reading for school. The second parameter is I do want you to pick something that you might not normally have read. So for example, if you always read a certain kind of fiction, like maybe you like crime or detective novels, and that's what you read for your first one because that's what you love and that's what you normally read, push yourself to try something different, a different kind of fiction, maybe a historical fiction or maybe even nonfiction. You could try a memoir or a book of poetry, right? So again, I don't want to limit you too much. I just want you to stretch yourself a little bit and try reading something that you wouldn't normally read. Let me go to the modules and just see what else I had in that module for you. So you'll see there's a sign-up sheet for chats, is what I call it, for the chats with me. It's just a Google Doc, and when you open it up, you'll see all the time slots on each of the Fridays that we'll be doing this. However, you'll also notice at the bottom that there's a little place to write in your name if you would like to meet some other time than Friday. And in fact, there are only 20 slots for each of the Friday times. So I will need some people to meet outside of that Friday class time anyways. So if you put your name down there because either there's no more slots available or because you really would rather not meet on Friday during our class, when I see your name, I'll email you and we'll set up a time. There's lots of other times that we could meet. So just be aware of that option as well. And then the only other things that you'll see in the module are the actual reflections and that the place where you'll upload your reflection each time that you do it. I think I have written that they'll be due at the beginning of class, but I'm realizing now I'm going to make them due at the end of class. So I'll go and change that in case you want to actually use class time on Friday to write the reflection. It may be a good way of knowing you have that space to actually get it done. So they'll be due at the end of class time each of those Fridays that they're due. So look through that again, and if you have questions, please ask them on Friday. Hopefully we will have some form of class Friday, because if you have a question, probably other people do too, and it would be great for them to be able to hear the answers to that. If your question is about specific reading material, please feel free to email me. Of course, as I said, I really don't mind what you pick. So you don't necessarily need to get approval or something like that for your reading material. But if for some reason, if you did have a question about it, please don't hesitate to just email me. But you don't need to ask that in class. If it's a very specific question like that, you can ask via email. Thanks.